You are listening to Matchpoint Canada, the official podcast of Tennis Canada, and so happy to welcome on this week Canada's top-ranked wheelchair tennis player. He's a two-time Pan Am Games medalist. He's won 24 ITF singles titles, including a pair this season, and he's ranked eighth in the world in the quad division. And he's also currently preparing to compete at the Paralympics in Paris for Canada. So happy to have Rob Shaw back on the podcast. Rob, thanks for taking some time.
Yeah, appreciate you inviting me on.
Yeah, very happy to have you. And I feel like as we're speaking now, it seems like you're in the midst of one of your very best seasons. You've been playing some great tennis this year, a couple singles titles, as I mentioned, a lot of success in the doubles as well. What do you think has maybe worked really well in your game in particular this season that's allowed you to win so many titles and have this type of success?
Yeah, it's been a really interesting season because the singles titles didn't come till much later in the year. And earlier in the year, I thought I was playing extremely good tennis, but just running into some really challenging draws. And that happens in tennis. Yeah, we all talk about bad draw luck, and I think I went through a bit of a spell of it there. So I was getting really frustrated with myself because I thought I was playing well, but wasn't getting the results I wanted. So I think, what's changed this year, especially for me play wise, is just having a bit more freedom on the court, freedom to execute certain shots and not hold back. I've been playing this sport now for almost 10 years full time, and it took me almost those full 10 years to break some pretty bad habits of directing the ball, pushing the ball, being scared to miss. And you can't do that in our sport. You got to play fearless almost from the first point to the last point. And I think we're finally doing that as a team together, which is it's fun, makes the sport more enjoyable.
Yeah, and you mentioned you've been playing for a number of years now, and I'm always fascinated of that question of like aging versus experience, and where players sort of feel like they're at. And you're in your 30s now, as am I, and always trying to become a better tennis player. Do you feel like you're a stronger player on the court now compared to your 20s, and maybe what are the assets you lean on at age 34 as opposed to say 10 years ago?
Yeah, I think 34-year-old Rob would definitely wipe the floor with 24-year-old Rob. The big difference now though is the training capacity just isn't the same. I remember as a early 20-year-old just hitting the courts 3-4 hours a day, going to the gym, waking up, doing it all again the next day. My body just can't do that anymore. Even out here in Germany right now, we've gone two back-to-back days of 4 hours a day on court, and I'm already feeling it, on the clay. So I definitely lean on my experience as an athlete strategically. I may not be as fit as I was when I was 24, but I think mentally I'm way stronger. And because of that, I'm able to execute strategies on court way more effectively. I don't get as distracted. I don't let my ego take over. I'm not afraid to play a boring style of tennis if it means playing the right way against a certain opponent. 24-year-old Rob never would have done that. I would have gone down swinging and losing, playing the wrong way. Whereas now those matches just don't happen. I feel like when I win or lose, it's because it's on my racket and I'm doing what I'm supposed to do.
And mental strength and resilience so important when I think you enter some of the biggest events in the sport. And obviously, this is leading into the Paralympic Games. I spoke with Kai Schremeyer, your coach, earlier this season. He called the Paralympics the mecca of your sport. Would you agree with that? And where is it maybe on your list of priorities as an athlete?
Yeah, it's the pinnacle for me. I think some athletes would maybe argue that now we are in all four Grand Slams, that maybe something like Wimbledon that has so much history to it is their mecca. But for me as a Canadian, obviously we never had a Grand Slam on home soil. So I didn't grow up with that same level of attachment to a slam as some other players. So for me, it's always been Olympics and Paralympics. It only happens once every 4 years. So it's not like if you have a bad games, you can just try again the next year. And the draws are really small. It really is a totally different atmosphere on tour that last 12 months leading into a games because everyone's so hyper focused on making them that the draws are stronger, the amount of players playing increases, and just the intensity from the beginning of a tournament to an end is continuously high. Whereas normally on tour, you might have some lull tournaments that are a bit quieter. So The hype is real. I'm super excited, and for me, it's definitely the pinnacle.
And if we look ahead to Paris, you mentioned just before we started recording, you have good familiarity with the courts at Roland Garros. What are your goals or expectations heading in? And yeah, how comfortable will you sort of feel when you get on the court there?
Yeah, I mean, I've played Roland Garros twice now. Both times I've drawn the number one player in the world. So first and foremost, we're hoping for a better draw this time around,
Hmm.
because it's funny. Both times I've gone into that tournament, I felt like I've played extremely well. Never won, obviously. Made a good run in the doubles one year, but yeah, I always play well there. I like play. I think it suits my game style quite well with the heavy topspin that I try to produce off both wings. So we're going in with very little expectations in a good way. Obviously, we're going to be competitive and try to make the podium somehow, but we're also not going in anywhere near the favorites, right? So that I think allows a player like me, who's sort of middle of the pack at number eight, play really fearless, carefree tennis in a way, where I can really swing out, and I'll have a bunch of family and friend support there as well who are traveling. So it's going to be a really fun tournament, I think.
And I mentioned your coach Kai Schrammeier, obviously a former world number one in this sport, and so really experienced. What qualities does he bring to your team, and how helpful is it to have him at your side?
Yeah, I mean he's still to this day one of the um you know the biggest players in our sport as far as transforming the sport. He was around when players only hit from the baseline, and he was sort of the first guy in a wheelchair to do chip and charge and come to the net and volley. So he helped revolutionize the game. So everyone knows him wherever we go. People know him, especially here in Germany, him being German.
Hmm.
And what I've learned probably most from him, working with him and him being my coach, is just the level of intensity, and not getting away with anything. Right? He's very stern in a good way. He doesn't beat around the bush with feedback. It's, if it's not good enough, that's the terminology he's going to use. It's not good enough. And for me, I like that direct feedback. I like to know when my ball quality is too low. I don't need someone telling me that you're doing a great job, keep it up, when that's not the reality. So I like how truthful, how honest, and how direct he is. At the same time, it's tough because he is who he is, former world number one. It's really easy for him to say that your quality is not good enough compared to what probably he used to do, obviously, right? But I think we have a lot of camaraderie on court when we train, and obviously with the new coaching rules in play, I think we do a pretty good job of communicating.
That's great. Competing in the quad division, I know. I think I spoke to you about a couple of challenges sometimes you've had with getting a quality grip on the racket and in dealing with humidity. What are you expecting, I guess, weather-wise in Paris there, and do you think that could be a factor at all?
Yeah, we're really hoping that weather is not a factor this time around. I think the forecast is kind of mid 20s, which that should be totally okay with me. I definitely struggle, especially in my, I'm not old, but in my older sporting age, with the extreme conditions. I don't do super well in the plus 35, plus 38 situations anymore. Nobody really does, but I used to handle it a lot better. My body doesn't respond as well anymore. So we're hoping just to have a nice casual mid 20s day, maybe 30, 40% humidity. I might be asking too much in Paris, but I don't foresee that being as big of a contributing factor as other tournaments I've played this year.
And just in terms of the Olympic Paralympic experience, opening ceremonies, staying in the village, are these elements you're all sort of you're excited to be taking in? Is that something are you going to be staying in the village and sort of experiencing all of that again?
Yeah, yeah. For me, it was a must because obviously Tokyo, as we all know, was the COVID Olympics and the COVID Paralympics. So we didn't have the opportunity to mingle. I didn't go to the opening ceremonies because I didn't want to catch COVID and then be, kicked out of the venue. So it wasn't really a true games experience. The intensity was still there. The level of competition was there, but it just felt like another tournament because there was no fans, there was no ability to mingle with other athletes, even internally within Team Canada. So this time around, we're definitely staying in the village again. I want to get the full experience as an athlete. I'm going to go to the opening ceremonies. Obviously, I had the opportunity to do that in Chile and in Lima for the Para Pan Ams. So I'm assuming it's like that, but on a way bigger stage. So definitely experiencing those elements of the games that I felt I missed out on is going to be, yeah, just not just as important as competing, but it's right up there. It's an experience that's oftentimes once in a lifetime. So I'm definitely going to take advantage of it.
If we just wrap here with some rapid fire questions to learn a bit more about you before we send you off. Starting off, would you call yourself a morning or a night person?
Oh, big time morning person.
Okay, okay. Favorite meal of the day?
Breakfast. It's not even a question.
Favorite shot to hit on the tennis court?
Forehand.
What is your favorite activity or hobby outside of tennis?
Right now, abstract painting.
Really? Okay, interesting. Favorite type of music?
Favorite type of music right now, probably just 90s and 2000s rap hip hop.
Nice. What would you call your career highlights to date?
Career highlight was winning the Birmingham Open in Canada for the first time ever back in, I think it was 2019.
Who's a fellow athlete that you admire?
David Wagner.
A person, living or dead, you'd most like to have dinner with?
Both my grandfathers, I'd say.
Place you'd most like to visit?
Croatia.
Nice. And if there's any special power you could have, what would that be?
The ability to speak all languages.
Oh, I like that one. Nice. Rob, we're so thrilled that you're going to be representing Canada at the Paralympic Games. Can't wait to watch you play, and congratulations on what's been a great season to date. We hope the success continues moving forward.
Yeah, thanks for everything there, Ben. And yeah, definitely keep the support going. Appreciate it.